Broadcasting live from SOAHR 2023 at the Gas South District Convention Center in Duluth, Georgia, it's time for North Fulton Business Radio. Brought to you by Oberman Law Firm, helping you navigate the complexity of workplace issues. Now, here's your host.
And hello again. Welcome back, folks, to the Gas South District Convention Center. I'm John Ray, and we're here at SOAHR 2023. This year's conference has been fantastic. I mean, right now it's a little quiet because everybody's in sessions, but we have had a very full exhibit hall. So if you're not here, you've missed it. So make your plans for next year if you didn't make it this year. And hey, just a reminder that our interviews this year are underwritten by Oberman Law Firm, who helps you navigate complexities in the workplace with employees. And I want to welcome Monte McDowell. Monte is the owner of ARCpoint Labs of Atlanta Northeast. Monte, welcome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, John.
Yeah, thanks for being here. You're an exhibitor.
Yes, I am.
Okay, let's share with the world what you're up to at ARCpoint Labs. How are you serving folks?
Yeah, so we are a clinical lab testing service. We help employers manage their drug testing and background check process. We basically help employers maintain a drug-free workplace, which here in the state of Georgia really can qualify you for a 7.5% premium discount on a workers' compensation insurance, which is real dollars for a lot of companies.
Yeah, that is real dollars.
And usually I have an HR background. I've been in HR for 28 years before, joining this company or starting this company 2 years ago. And being on that side of it, I know that if I had to get a background check for an employee, if I had to do a drug screen for an employee, I might actually use two different companies for that. So with ARCpoint Labs, we actually offer a one-stop shop to be able to do all those things within our house, in addition to supervisor training and policy development and things like that.
Yeah. So what you mentioned the competition, and you mentioned being able to kind of be a one-stop shop. What else is it that distinguishes you think, from your firm and your services from the competition? Yeah,
thank you for asking. It's the fact that we're mobile and flexible. We offer after-hour services as well. So, so I think that from an employer standpoint, that's what separates us. But the other things that we offer are really for individual health and wellness testing. So anything ranging from COVID testing, which we got started with a couple years ago, in addition to cholesterol screening, any kind of lab testing that you might need, including, things like DNA for paternity. We have a wide variety of services that we offer.
Okay. Yeah. So do these, or do you offer your services both as a service to the company and then elective by the employee? Because I can't imagine employers are necessarily interested in cholesterol levels per se, right?
Well, they could.
They could be, yeah.
Because, for them, a lot of times it's about wellness.
Okay,
right? We want to make sure that our employees are not only safe from a drug testing perspective, but they're also keeping themselves well.
Yeah.
With just being able to work their jobs. Let's call it a driver, warehouse worker, forklift driver, really demanding jobs. We want to make sure that we keep them healthy and that they're maintaining their health.
Gotcha. So depending on the test, the company may be the one that's interested. The employee may self-select and want a particular test.
Yeah, we actually get that a lot. We get folks who will come into our lab in Duluth for a drug screen, a pre-employment drug screen. But when they come into our office, they see all of our different posters of the different services that we offer. So they'll see that we do DNA testing. They will see that we do, sexually transmitted disease testing. So those are things that are not going through the employer,
right?
But they may come back to us at a later time, just as an individual consumer, because we're more of a retail clinic from that perspective.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I have to ask. You mentioned DNA testing. So how popular is that with Ancestry and all the sites and the TV shows about, talk about that.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. We've learned a lot in the last couple of years in terms of what those needs are.
Right.
So yes, the Ancestry, 23andMe and all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Great services. We offer those as well. But where we come into play is really on the paternity side.
Okay.
So when there's a question of if the alleged father is the father, we will be able to determine that. So it'll be, a mother will bring in their child and the alleged father will come in, and we will do a DNA swab to see if that father is indeed the father. Now, the thing that we found interesting is that there's a market for folks who need to know that information even before the child is born.
Oh.
So we call that prenatal, non-invasive paternity testing. So we can actually take the blood sample from the mother, and the DNA swab from the alleged father, and be able to tell before the child is born if that's the father.
Wow.
Very expensive test.
Yeah.
But there is a need for it because we do quite a bit of that.
And the consequences of not knowing can be even more expensive, I suppose, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Our testing is not only just for informational purposes, but also court admissible.
Right.
So we work with attorneys and paralegals to make sure that they get the testing they need for their clients.
Wow. That's very interesting. So, Monte, I would imagine, though, that same statement really applies to all your tests, right? That the consequences of not doing a particular test can be much, much greater, much more expensive, both in terms of tangible cost and intangible cost, than the cost of the test.
I agree.
Yeah.
100%. You know, one of our taglines is that we do testing for those who want to know and those who need to know. So if you think about an employer who needs to know that their potential employee is drug-free versus somebody who wants to know, we have folks that come in for regular quarterly testing because they know that their cholesterol needs to be checked. They know that their thyroid needs to be checked. They know that they're, if they're into a new relationship, there's I don't want to call it a trend, but a good idea that if you're in a new, relationship, that both parties get sexually transmitted disease tested. So we do a lot of those things. We do a lot of confidential. That's really our the acronym for ARCpoint. So ARC stands for accurate, reliable, and confidential. And we take that very seriously, even to a point where how our office is laid out. We have think about, when we say ARCpoint Labs, a lot of people think about a big white building where you don't really know what's going on in there, right? But for us, it's a retail clinic. If you were to come into our office, it would feel like a medical office. We have different patient rooms for different purposes. So when I go back to the conversation about DNA, our DNA testing room is the furthest from the front door because we want to protect the privacy of the folks who are coming in for those kinds of tests. Got it.
I'm curious, in terms of workplace drug-related theft, malfeasance, there've got to be some statistics about that. Just what it cost employers, the drugs in the workplace cost employers. Do you have any sense of that?
I don't have any statistics, right off, John, but I think there's a certain there's a cost that HR folks know with regard to replacing your staff.
Right.
So, the cost of turnover. And some of those situations are, based on an accident. So let's say you have a forklift driver in your warehouse, they get into an accident, they have a post-accident drug testing policy. So that person may test positive for marijuana, for cocaine, or what have you. And in some cases, you have companies that have worked for them that have a last chance agreement. So that means that somebody who's been working for you for 10 years, if they test positive for a post-accident drug test, you can still keep them employed, but they have to sign off an agreement where they have accelerated random testing for them, right? And we also at that point refer them to the EAP or Employee Assistance Program for them to get the help that they may need. Because that's what we've learned through the pandemic is people picked up some bad habits sitting at home. Right.
Yeah.
So that is rearing its ugly head now as people come back to work.
Yeah. Well, they said that the sales of the liquor store sales went through the roof, and I could imagine sales of a lot of other things went crazy as well.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's unfortunate, but that's the reality of it. Yeah. And I think it was a wake up call for a lot of HR folks because they may not have reviewed their drug testing policy in years. Right. It's one of those policies that you wrote 20, 30 years ago. And now 20, 30 years later, you have different drugs on the market. So the standard 5 panel is no longer enough.
Yeah.
You need a 10 panel, potentially a 17 panel that includes fentanyl. Right. Because there are more things on the market now than there were, 20 years ago.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about the types of companies that you work with.
Absolutely. So we primarily service the small to medium-sized market. So we have a concrete manufacturing company that we work with that has about 35 employees. We have a transportation company that has about 200 employees, including drivers. So it kind of depends. We're not really after the Fortune 50 companies out there, the Coca-Colas. I mean, if they came calling, we would certainly listen and figure out if we could help them. But we're realistic in terms of what we can offer. We have, at this point, I'm the franchise owner for the Atlanta Northeast location, which is in Duluth, but now there are 5 additional locations in the Georgia market. And I have one of my peers here with me at the exhibitor booth, and she's out of Douglasville.
Okay.
So we like to work with distribution, manufacturing companies, but it's any type of company that needs support when it comes to employer screening. So you think about DOT stuff, that's kind of a sweet spot for us as well. So if you have DOT or Department of Transportation regulated drivers, over-the-road drivers, that's a good sweet spot for us because not only can we do their drug testing, but we can also do their annual physical that they need done as well.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Wow. That's good to know. Well, so Monte, what are you seeing here at the conference that's of interest to you? Some of the trends that maybe people are talking about, or some of the sessions maybe you've attended? What do you see?
I think as an exhibitor, we're talking to a lot of people that are just walking by. They may be waiting for lunch or what have you. It's a captive audience when they're in the line waiting for food, right?
Yeah, you're over there near the lunch line. I love your location.
Great. It's perfect. Yeah. We had a long line when the doors opened.
Did you have a colleague over there holding up the line so they were standing in front of your booth, or what?
It was me. It was me.
I love it.
It was casually just kind of talking to people and just kind of getting their sense for, what do they do for a living? Who do they work for? But what are their pain points? What are the things that they are talking about as an HR team, right? And we've heard a lot of conversation about background checks, employment screening. Things are taking too long to come back. It's the longest process in terms of when you're trying to onboard a new employee. Right. So we kind of come into play to say, well, give us a shot, give us a try, and we will potentially give you better service and potentially better pricing.
So so can a company do that? They don't have to sign up a long-term contract necessarily. They can try you with a few tests and see how it works.
Absolutely. We are very very open to that because we recognize that we're fighting brand awareness, right? Folks will go to the bigger company names, especially like if you think about companies that are coming into Gwinnett County or coming into Atlanta. If it's an HR person who's not familiar with this area, they're going to go with the brand names that they're familiar with, right? So that's who will get the contract. But after talking to us and realizing what we can provide, they will typically want to switch to us for one reason or another. So yes, it's interesting that we had those conversations with folks because they learn a little bit more about what can be done, because their foregone conclusion is that what we need is not available.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And you've got so many different ways that people can plug in just to try you, right? I mean, so given all the tests that you do and the background checks that you do, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. We've even gone to a point, depending on the size of the business, we will offer them 1 month of free service. So,
oh, wow.
So one month of free service could be, they may be having a hiring event coming up. So they may be hiring 20 warehouse workers. So to give them a free month is significant.
That's a big deal.
It's a big deal. But we also kind of let them, because that allows them to see the entire process. We're here actually also promoting our total reporting portal, which allows an HR person to order a background screen, a drug screen, and a DOT physical all within one system and retrieve the results from that same system. So that's a big deal. I know that's a big deal because in HR, we did a lot of chasing of results. Right. You have an operations manager saying, hey, I need to get this person hired. Where's their drug screen result? So instead of that, it's all in one system, all contained. So we're really excited about rolling that out. But that's the kind of stuff that we just enjoy doing, is figuring out where the pain points are and coming up with a solution to help them.
Monte McDowell has been with us, folks. He is with ARCpoint Labs of Atlanta Northeast. Monte, I can imagine there aren't some folks that want to be in touch, so let's tell them how they can get to you.
Absolutely. So our website is arcpointlabs.com/Atlanta-Northeast. You can also reach us in the office at 470-508-4330. And I'm also on LinkedIn.
Monte McDowell, ARCpoint Labs of Atlanta Northeast, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us. This episode of North Fulton Business Radio is underwritten by Oberman Law Firm. Oberman Law helps local, regional, and national clients manage the sensitivities of employee relations in the workplace.